My name is Mark, and I'm a science teacher. I came through science teaching through a long process in college where I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. And I joined ROTC, and I went through the ROTC program in college. And when I got done with my science degree, they sent me off to training in nuclear, biological, and chemical warfare. So it's interesting. In the things that I do with students, I can only give them a little piece of what I've learned in the Army, but it jazzes up some of the classes too because it makes it more interesting, a little bit more interesting sometimes than a teacher that just comes straight from the university to teach in a school. I was also a epidemiologist for 2 state health departments. That's a person that tries to go in and stop spreading disease. So you saw a lot of this stuff now with COVID and the people that are trying to stop COVID. That was my job, from everything from sexually transmitted diseases to rabies to measles, mumps, and all of those sorts of things, to HIV. And so once again, when I'm talking to students about all of these things, I've got a lot of different things that I've done within those categories that a lot of other teachers don't have any experience in, and you're not going to find in the textbooks. So it's kind of nice sometimes being that teacher that has experience outside of the textbook and outside the classroom that I can share with my students. Well, I learned, at first I learned to work 20 hours a day. And I worked and worked and worked, and then I realized that after 5, 10, 15 years of that, I was losing my zest for science, and I realized I had to do something else. And so I started doing some things on the side, like I started writing. One of the things I realized when I was writing is that it'd be kind of fun sometimes maybe to write a book. And so I wrote a book. I wrote a book on something I was interested in, which was kind of personal finance. And what I was always interested in was nobody ever told me how to avoid personal finance problems because I never had a book on it that I could read about it, or the teachers that I had wouldn't tell me about it up front because they were embarrassed. Maybe something that they did would make somebody else laugh at them. And so I thought, I'm just going to lay it all out there in a book, and I'm going to tell students mistakes I've made and things that they could do differently that maybe they wouldn't have those mistakes. And so I wrote the first book ever in the United States on teaching students financial responsibilities from the perspective of the teacher in the classroom. As a science teacher, I learned that most of the time it's learning the particular thing you're learning, like whether it's about atoms or about genetics or about some little aspect of physical science. That's not the important thing that day. The most important thing I learn is that there's a kid who has been normally in a good mood, that suddenly something is different about him. Something's not paying attention, something's going on. So while you're trying to get across the major learning that's important for the day, the most important thing is that you have to realize you're not teaching a subject, you're teaching kids. And so when you're teaching kids, the most important thing is the kid. And so you try to think of, well, what's going on in their day? How are they enjoying what's going on? Are they understanding what I'm saying? And how can I prove that they can understand what I'm saying? And if there's something that's underneath the surface that nobody's talked to them about that today, or maybe nobody's even said hi to them today, I could be that person. I would say, don't take yourself so seriously. Allow yourself some learning time, enjoy what you're doing, find something that really excites you and do that. Have fun doing it. Life is pretty short. By the time you get to be my age, a lot of the people you know aren't going to be around anymore. So when you were here, did you get a chance to do what you wanted to do? Did you dance? Did you run? Did you jump? Did you play? Did you swim? Did you get a chance to go into the educational field you wanted to? Did you work at what you wanted to? Did you ride a horse? Did you take a balloon trip? Did you go on vacation with your family? Those are things that are a lot more important than any of our individual jobs on a day-to-day basis.